Welcome to God of Run. This is Will Sanchez. Thank you for tuning in. My special guest today is Caroline Plank. She runs for Henwood Hounds. At age 22, Caroline was advised to take a breast test. She was diagnosed with a mutated BRCA2 gene. The reason being her family has an extensive history of cancer. Both sets of grandparents, her mother, and her uncle. Later in her career, Caroline decided to take action and had a preventive double mastectomy. She has a story we need to hear. I am honored to have Caroline as a guest. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. Caroline, before we go into your life story, tell us, how is your health right now?
It's great. I feel really good right now. Of course, recovering from the bilateral mastectomy was really hard. And just getting back into running was really tough, but I did it and I feel really good now.
Okay, so you're glad you did it.
I'm so glad I did it.
I know it took years and years.
It did.
You did it. I think you were 22 when you discovered the mutated gene.
Yeah.
And it took about 6 years.
I had felt a lump one day, and then I went to the gynecologist, and they did an MRI-guided biopsy. So then they found the precancerous cells.
Okay, and that really increased your odds of really getting full-blown cancer, like 90% of the time.
Right.
When you were diagnosed and when you had the operation, the BRCA made the news in the sense that one of our actresses, filmmaker, Angelina Jolie, made the announcement that she had the double mastectomy in order to stop the spread of cancer or preventing it from coming back.
Right.
You know, she also had a 90% chance that she went down. It never is 0%.
Right. I found I had the gene before she had found out and before she had the bilateral mastectomy. But it was helpful to see somebody in, the news and the limelight who went through it first, and that she still looks beautiful and she's healthy and happy.
Yes. Good for her and good for you. You look terrific.
Thank you.
Okay, let's start at the beginning. Tell us where you were born and something about your childhood.
I was born in New Rochelle, New York, and I grew up playing soccer all the time. I always played with my brother and obviously always got hurt because he's 6 years older than me. I have a brother and a sister. They're twins. So, yeah, I always wanted to be grown up and play with the boys. So I played soccer my whole life.
Excellent. Which school did you go to for college, for example?
I went to Old Dominion, and then I went to UVA for grad school.
Old Dominion, is that in Virginia? Where
it is. Okay. It's in Norfolk, Virginia.
What did you study in Old Dominion?
I studied speech and language pathology, and I kind of just always knew I was going to do it and wanted to do it. So when you play a sport in college, you have to declare your major right away. So they can make sure you have all your credits done because your schedule just gets really crazy with your games and being on the road. So I did speech pathology and I stuck with it. And then I went to grad school.
But what inspired you to go into that field?
My neighbor is actually deaf, and his sister became a speech pathologist. And she was telling me about it, and she was using sign language to speak with her brother. And I just really thought that was awesome.
Educate us. So what is the work of a speech pathologist?
It's very broad. The scope is huge. You can work with infants in the NICU. You can work with pediatrics, early intervention. You can work with school-age kids, high school. I work with adults, so I mostly do traumatic brain injury, strokes, and all of those types of dementia.
See. So you help them to speak again.
Right.
They have to use a different part of their brain, or they got to practice. Okay.
Like sometimes when someone has a stroke, they lose their language, and I try to help them get it back. Or if part of their face is paralyzed, I help them regain strength on that side. And a lot of times they lose their ability to swallow.
Oh, gosh, you're doing God's work here. Thank you so much for doing that.
It's a lot of work, but I enjoy it.
So what was your first work experience like after college?
But then after grad school, I'm still with the same company. I was promoted to the regional manager. So now I supervise a lot. I supervise clinicians who just graduated and they're in their fellowship. So
okay, which company is that?
Language fundamentals.
Language fundamentals. Oh, okay. So speech pathology, you need to go to graduate school. It isn't like,
Yeah.
okay, it's like a doctor thing.
Well, not really, but sort of, I guess. We can call it that.
Okay. Well, is there a special degree, like, I don't know, DO or something?
Well, I have my CCCSLP.
Well, that's a long one. What does it stand for?
Certification of Clinical Competence.
How long a graduate program is it?
2.5 years. So
Okay.
you have to do a summer.
Okay. And so do you have to do an internship? What's the requirements? Is there a license for that as well?
Well, you do your internship. You do 2 externships in grad school, and then you do an internship. And those are done in grad school. Those are a semester each. And then when you graduate grad school, you do about 9 months of your clinical fellowship, but it's paid.
Okay. Okay. But obviously you passed 22 when you graduated from graduate school. But at 22, what was going on in your family?
My uncle had just been diagnosed with breast cancer, and he worked in the medical field, and he had more insight into why is everyone in my family, getting cancer. So he recommended us to get the BRCA gene test, mutation test. So we found out that my mom has it, my aunt has it, and he had it. We don't know about my grandparents because unfortunately they all had passed away, and my sister has it.
But 3 out of your 4 grandparents had some type of cancer.
Correct.
Okay, so you're really cursed with cancer. Okay, so at 22, what were the results?
They were positive. It was right after my birthday. You'd think that they would have looked at the date, but it was right after my birthday. The nurse practitioner called me and she said, "I'm so sorry. Are you sitting down?" And of course I wasn't sitting down. I said, "Yeah, I'm sitting down." And she said, "I'm sorry, but the results were positive." But I didn't really know exactly what that meant at that time when she told me. So she said, "We're going to make an appointment and you're going to come in and speak with a genetic counselor."
Okay. At 22, you were facing, a daunting, because you probably knew, okay, you might have to lose your breast.
It didn't even cross my mind. I don't even really know. I was just kind of shocked for a long time.
Okay. All right. What was the advice?
So when I went in and met with the genetic counselor, they gave me and I also met with my gynecologist. She gave me all of my options. She said I could be proactive or reactive. And she said, proactive, you can get a prophylactic mastectomy, a hysterectomy, or an oophorectomy when I feel I'm ready. Or I could be reactive, where you get a mammogram and an ultrasound, and you alternate that with every 6 months with having an MRI. So I never got an MRI until I went and saw my oncologist, gynecologist, because I was recommended.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So what did you decide to do?
So I really didn't want to do a bilateral mastectomy for a very long time.
That means losing both breasts.
Right.
I mean, that's that fancy word bilateral. People, what's bilateral mean?
Yeah.
Both. Gone.
Yeah. Especially men don't know those terms. But yes, both breasts would be taken off and replaced with either fat or an implant or nothing.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, obviously, that's a difficult decision, a very personal one.
Yeah.
So, but at some point, you took up running. So when did the running start in your career?
I did my first half marathon right when I graduated grad school because I had finished soccer and I didn't know what to do. I was kind of like, what do I do now? I don't have a coach telling me what workouts to do. And so my sister recommended me to run the More Shape half marathon with her. So I was kind of like, whatever. And it was terrible. But I finished with a decent time, 1:43, and I didn't really train properly for it at all.
That's a decent time. A lot of running in soccer.
Yeah.
And it's good form in soccer because you're always leading with your chest. And,
I guess so. I never thought about that.
You open up so you can breathe.
Yeah.
It's great training. Okay, that's a great time. So obviously you enjoyed it and you wanted to pursue it further?
Yeah, so I kind of took a break throughout grad school. And then 2016, I started really running again. And I really want to run a marathon at some point in my life. So I was like, why not now? I needed something to get me in a regimen. So I ran with a local running group, just a tiny group of people, nothing official. Every Tuesday, Thursday morning to help me get into a groove. And then September 2016 was when I found the lump. But I had already started doing my 9+1 for the New York City Marathon.
For the 2017 version.
Right. So I went and saw my gynecologist, and then I went and saw my radiologist, and then I went and saw an oncologist. And she recommended that I either get a lumpectomy or a bilateral mastectomy. And so I decided at that point I was just going to get it over with and have a bilateral mastectomy. And then I was like, I'm still going to run the New York City Marathon. So I kept those plans.
Okay. So back in December, I think, of 2016, you had the operation.
Right.
But you also made another brave decision of recording your days and recording your hospital stay. Why did you want to do that?
I really wanted to show people what it was like because I had so many questions when I was getting ready for the surgery. I was like, what is it like? How much pain am I going to be in? What is the hospital stay going to be like? And I know everyone's different, but I wanted to give women and even men some idea of what to expect the day after and the days to come after your surgery.
Okay. One of the things that your research led to discover, there wasn't a lot in terms of running after the operation.
There weren't.
In fact, it was discouraging because of tightness. And so you practically thought that, you're going to have to give up running.
Yeah. And I will not lie, there is a ton of tightness when you first start running because the muscle is so tight because I did reconstruction. So the implant really pushes against the pectoral muscle. And when your diaphragm's working to breathe, it can't really push against the pectoral muscles because it's so tight. And I actually didn't finish my first race back because of that reason. And I just got really bad cramping.
Okay. Luckily, you listened to your body and because, runners are crazy and push through all sorts of things. But this was a different situation.
Yeah,
you didn't
definitely.
want to hurt yourself.
Yeah.
Okay. But you're wearing a very attractive shirt. It says
Thank you.
Henwood's Hounds.
Thank you.
And a beautiful dog. So when did you join the Henwood's Hounds?
I started with John in about April of 2017. He was recommended to me by Sheila, my friend Sheila, who's on your show.
Sheila Monahan.
That's right.
Also of the Henwood's Hounds.
And she recommended me to him, and I'm so happy she did because he really, really helped me along the way.
Okay, but the idea was to get ready for the New York City Marathon.
Yeah.
This is about 5 months after the operation, right?
Mm-hmm.
And obviously you had to tell John, your story.
Yeah, I did.
And what did he say about taking you on?
He was pretty unimpressed by it. He was just kind of like, okay, yeah, that's fine. I'll work with you. I've worked with people who've had injuries. He said never has he ever worked with somebody who's had a bilateral mastectomy, and he can add that onto his list.
Okay.
But he was kind of confident in his ability to coach me through. So,
well, that must have been encouraging for you.
Yeah.
He wasn't going to baby you. He said,
yeah,
okay,
no, he definitely doesn't baby me.
He said, okay, you're part of the team now, and John is a former Olympian, so
yeah, and
his schedule would be kind of tough.
Yeah, it was. And I remember the first time I trained with him in person at Central Park with his team. Oh my goodness, there was 5 girls there, including myself, and 3 out of the 5 had been to the Olympic trials. And I was like, oh, I just started running really last year.
Oh, but they're an awesome team. I've met many of them.
They were so nice and welcoming.
So you are April, and the marathon's only, 5 months off?
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty ambitious.
Yeah, it definitely was. I did take some time off from the end of February to March because I got pneumonia, but I had a little bit of a base. I had been running a little bit. So I wasn't starting completely from scratch, but yeah, it was definitely ambitious.
Really hard. Now, that operation with the bilateral, I saw the interview. There's a picture of you with the thumbs up. I guess that's after the operation or before?
It was after. I was a little drugged up at that point.
How long an operation does that take?
Mine was about 6.5 hours.
It's almost barbaric thinking about it.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, so the oncologist starts and she cleans me out. And then it took a long time because they had to dissect some lymph nodes on the left side because some lymph nodes actually had precancerous cells on them.
Yeah.
So they had to do some testing for that first, and then they could call in the plastic surgeon to come in and do the reconstruction.
So that happened at the same time?
Yeah, it was actually really funny. My parents and my fiance told me that they were down in the cafeteria and they saw my plastic surgeon during the time of the surgery, and they're like, "Shouldn't you be somewhere?" And she was like, "Oh no, I'm not. They're not ready for me yet." So
Okay, she's a cleanup hitter. I thought you had a way to. Some women do.
Yeah.
So that was a choice that you made.
well, you have to be appropriate. There's different types of reconstruction. You can do expanders. Yeah.
Okay. And there's a lot of controversy no matter what you do. You know,
Right.
It's obviously a very personal decision. And I was reading that some people said, don't have the reconstructive surgery because that in itself could cause a future cancer because either the materials or the surgery.
Right.
So obviously you were aware of that, but you
Yeah.
had to weigh the odds.
Yeah, you have to weigh the odds. And I really trust my plastic surgeon, Dr. Yao, immensely. And she assured me that everything they were putting in my body had been tested by the FDA and that it was all safe and okay to be in my body.
Okay. All right. Because I also read that, you know, the results could be very stunning. You know, you're very proud of, I mean, I don't know if proud is the right word, but, you know, you're happy with how they look.
Right, yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
it's some adjusting, but yeah, everything looks pretty normal as of
Okay.
right now.
All right. Good, good. And who was doing all the filming for you? Did you hire a crew to follow
I
you around?
didn't. It looks very professional, right? Because it is professional. My fiance is a cinematographer.
Oh, wow. So he took on this special assignment to follow you
Yeah,
around.
he did. I really wanted to document, and I had the resources for it, so it worked out perfectly.
So here you are back. You're training with the Henwood Hounds. Probably speed work included? You did
Yeah,
the whole 9 yards. You know?
Yeah, we did speed work on the weekends,
Okay. When were your long runs?
on Sundays.
On Sunday. And speed work was on Saturday, or what was? How did that
Yeah,
work?
well, we would alternate weekends that I would go. So one weekend I would do speed work and then do a long run the next day with John. And then the next weekend, it was a little bit easier. You can do the speed work on your own and then do your long run after. But yeah, you do your speed work and then your long run the next day.
Okay. Any treadmill work?
Not really. I don't love the treadmill. I get a little bored on it. But
Okay. Well, John's a good treadmill trainer.
I've never ran with him on the treadmill.
The treadmill can be a lot of fun in the right instructor.
Right.
And with the music and
Oh,
the
yeah,
sound.
I'm sure.
And so, in fact, he's now an instructor at the Mile High Run Club. So
Yeah.
I recommend they take his class.
I should.
Yes, it's a lot of fun. And it's another way of, especially if it's extremely cold out, it has been
Yeah,
at
and it
times.
has been.
So here you are training for New York, and you get to the starting line uninjured.
Yeah, I was feeling pretty good, just a little nervous. I was definitely in shock that today was the day that I've been training and looking forward to so much.
All right, so you took off. Was your goal to Boston qualify by chance?
Absolutely, yeah.
So John
really.
had to double,
Yeah.
not only to get you at the starting line
Yeah.
in good shape, but in also enough shape that you could make the qualifying time, which is pretty aggressive. You were 28, 29?
I was 29.
29,
Mhm.
okay. Amazing that you got to so much
Yeah, thank you.
in that short amount of time. But now you're a Boston qualifier for, I guess, for 2019.
2019, yeah.
So now you got
Now I got to get
incentive
it.
to stay in shape.
Exactly. And then I have New York coming up again in November. I'm going to do it another time, but
Okay.
I don't know if I'm going to do 9+1 next year.
Okay. Well, we should tell people 9+1 means if you want to qualify for New York, you do 9 races
And then,
that are sponsored by the New York Roadrunners plus 1 volunteer work.
right.
But it's a great way of,
Yeah, it is.
especially that volunteer work, because there's lots of opportunities.
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
Okay. So did you run for any charities?
Everyone asks me, they're like, you should start a charity for your running or run for a charity. But I have before. I have ran for the Teal Project. It's for ovarian cancer. I have done races for them, though.
Yes, yes. The New York Roadrunners sponsors at this point dozens of charities, and
Mm-hmm.
any and all of them would be proud to have you as an
Oh,
ambassador.
thank you. Thank you.
And it gives you that little extra umph, especially there are days it happens even to people without any diseases or stuff like that, to get up in the morning, early in the morning, to go out. But if oh my gosh, my charity's depending on me, that gives you
Right.
that little extra to
Yeah,
get
I
out
should
there.
definitely look into it.
Well, you're only 29, so there's a lot to learn.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I just stunned to think about what you did. It's was obviously the right thing to do because
Mm-hmm.
the worry in itself. You're worry free now. You're going to lead a good life, a normal life, and you can have children at this point.
Yeah, at this point I can. I've been talking to my gynecologist about freezing eggs and such. But yeah, the next step recommended would be to have an oophorectomy or a hysterectomy.
So that's in the cards.
Yeah.
And I think they said before the age of 40 or something.
Yeah, typically you do 5 years younger than the youngest person in your family when their onset of cancer.
Oh, ovarian cancer. I think your mother had it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, it's good to know that they have all these formulas and you have access to good doctors.
Yeah.
Medical care in this country is under assault at times.
Mm-hmm.
So you've been very fortunate in that.
I went to Mount Sinai, the Dubin Breast Center, and Dr. Port was recommended to me by my radiologist in Westchester. So that's how I found her.
Okay. So also very fortunate in having access to good doctors.
Yeah, New York City has the best health care.
That's true. So what medications are you on that they recommend after surgery like this?
I'm actually not on any medication. Some people will be on low doses of chemo, which is taken by mouth. My mom was on that as a prophylactic medication, but at this time I don't need that.
Okay, I was reading somewhere that they recommend taking aspirin on a daily basis.
Oh, no.
No, really?
No, I never heard that.
Okay. Well, it's funny. Not funny, but I was thinking, I've been doing this show for over 7 years, and I think my first female guest was a doctor, and it happened to be a doctor on breast cancer. She's a specialist.
Right.
She practiced a private practice in Long Island, so I did a lot of research back then.
Right.
And I'm telling you, I did the research again for you, and I was doubly confused now than I was 7 years ago. The good news is that the rate of cancer among older women is declining, but among your generation, below 40, is steady.
Right.
Kind of intriguing.
Yeah, it is very interesting.
Cancer is still the second leading cause of death among women, and I think. I guess about 40,000 women in the United States would die from it every year.
Right.
Yeah, it's still a very deadly disease.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Sums of money in research and improvements.
Yeah, definitely. It makes you wonder.
Okay, so is there any final words you wanted to say, that we didn't cover?
Just to give women that extra push and courage, just because something happens to you doesn't mean it's the end. Always have faith and that things will work out, and just keep pushing through, especially if you have a disease or if you have surgery or something like that. And just to keep the faith and keep pushing, and it'll get better.
Okay. You also had strong family support, which is important. That's incredibly important.
I did.
And it sounds like you got a terrific fiance.
I
Besides being
definitely
a videographer, he's there
I definitely do.
supporting you, encouraging you.
Yeah.
And you said keep the faith. Are you a religious person?
I mean, relatively. We call my mom lovingly Sister Mary Elizabeth.
Okay.
But yes, she is very religious. She became very religious after she was diagnosed with stage 4 ovarian cancer.
Okay. Okay.
and really wasn't expected to live. She feels that she's here for a reason.
Okay.
She's doing great.
She's waiting for her grandchild.
She had one, not from me though.
Okay. Well, you said you had an older sibling.
Yeah. My sister gave birth to Kaylee Elizabeth on August 30th. And she's 27 inches long. I don't know if she's going to be a runner. She might be a basketball player because she's only 5 months old.
They're already sprouting.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, listen, on that note of sprouting, thank you so much for coming in and
Thank
sharing
you
the
too.
story. It's a pleasure.
Pleasure.